to get purchased. And I think the microphone works now. I think there it is. Nice job. I like it. There we go. I'm going to not yell now. See? Can I wait till the end? I got a Q&A. All of a sudden, those folks that have been in correspondent and understand brokering loans, I'm curious, someone throw it out there. What's the benefit you guys have seen from a non-delegated correspondent versus brokering a loan? So yeah, so you don't have to do the difference. He said no yield spread premium on brokering loans, right? To where on a correspondent loan, you're looking at the raw pricing and you're building that into how you're disclosing your pricing, right? So yield spread plays a big factor into it. What else? Anything else? I'm looking at the folks that raised their hands first. So he's talking about flexibility on your revenue on loans. So that is one thing that comes into a benefit when you are a part of C2 funding, is the fact that you do have that pricing control, right? So meaning, for instance, let's just say you're a great loan officer and you set your comp at 150, but you know I'm going to run my loans at a nice 175, give myself a little bit of cushion. That means, let's just say you do have a quarter extension fee that comes in along the way. You made a mistake, your processor made a mistake, something happened, whatever the case may be, you don't have to redisclose that to your borrower. You can choose to just eat that, right? So the power of that control from a client experience standpoint, the fact that you don't have to pick up the phone and call the borrower and explain, hey, I know we made a mistake, it's gonna cost you more money, or what you have to do normally is then have to flip to borrower paid on a brokered loan, redisclose borrower paid, now it's on line A versus just being on the CD, and you have this tumble effect of conversations, and you're making how much on this loan? I'm sure it's all conversations that none of us like to have. Yes? Okay, so, and what C2 funding is doing from a value standpoint, and this is where I'm going to dive into this, is we are trying to create the simplest platform in the industry with also giving you the most control and amount of speed with being on the non-delegated space. And so how we're going to do that, and some of the things I'm going to go into is one, Arrive, and I'm going to go deeper into the things that we're building into Arrive for that. But then two, is the fact of what investors we're choosing to work with. We are extremely selective on who we're choosing to work with from an investor standpoint. I say the word investor because that's the definition of it, but it's your lenders that you work with, right? Your UWM, your Kind, your PennyMac, right? Just when you're on the correspondent side, they're called investors. Just terminology change there. So current day, we do have 3 investors. We have Kind, PennyMac, and UWM. So with that and with the things that we are building is to make sure that as we bring on additional investors, that we make sure it's scalable for you, because change is one of the biggest differences is how revenue is paid. On a brokered loan, when do you guys get paid on a brokered loan? When does the check get stroked out? At what point? Funding, title, closing, right? Title strokes that check, off it goes, right? So we're on the C2 funding side, we get our revenue when the loan actually gets purchased by that investor. So you have a post-closing process that is an added step that comes in when you're a non-delegated correspondent lender. So you'll typically have some STIPs, some other documents you have to get, some documents from closing, typically have to travel around the country via UPS and FedEx, which is a archaic part of our industry. But thankfully, UWM is one of the first ones pioneering these e-notes on our side, so thank you, UWM, for that. But with that comes into just the additional steps that come into that. But with who we choose to work with is going to matter to an extreme standpoint. And because of that, this is going to be a selective channel. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure loan officers have every tool and resource that they need at their fingertips. And with that, I'll even go into a little bit deeper with C2 funding and with non-del because of the model that we've created and the flexibility from a pay standpoint and things like that. Current day, FHA is always still brokered. But your conventional, your VA, your non-QM, those can all go through our C2 funding channel. And so with the investors that we work with, we're typically using what's a mini core or an assisted platform standpoint, where right now when you go to broker loan to UWM, you're plugging in your fees, you're creating disclosure, and you're pushing them out. On C2 funding, it's the exact same experience. You're doing the exact same process in their portal. The difference is the documents are white labeled to say C2. It's a super just simple experience from a transition from folks that are used to working with some of these investors on the broker side. So because of who we're choosing to be selective of who we work with and how we're building out the technology we're going to be using, this is going to be a channel, again, focused on just that ease and where that comes into. And where that is going to drive from is that's what's going to make the C2 funding experience truly a focus for where things are at. There's all sorts of stories, I don't want to get into it, but there's some places out there where they have to go through a QC just to get disclosures out. Sometimes that can take days, or you're having to use a fulfillment company just to get documents out, and sometimes that can take 24 to 48 hours. And we want to make sure that whatever we do in design is to create speed and control at your fingertips at multiple stages in the process, where a lot of times we have to bring in just additional hands or additional eyes, and that's what we don't want to do. Right? We want to create, again, that seamless experience through and through. So we go into the next thing. So this is going to be what our focus is and tone for the next year is for the channel. This is going to be important because I will say this, and the C2 funding channel is not perfect. It is a growing child, if you will. It is still at its infancy stage, and it's going to continue to get better every day. So how are we going to do that? One, we need to continue to get feedback from everyone involved. I'm currently having conversations with the LOs and processors within the channel, especially with the updates and things that we're doing. But as the only way that we're going to make this channel truly be the destination for those high-level loan officers is getting the feedback from the people that are going to be working on it day in and day out. So next year, make this channel the best option for high-level loan officers. Something we haven't even talked about, but control of AMCs, right? Making about that next step where we're doing, where the goal is shared by the end of Q1. We're going to have a appraisal ordering platform set. I'm not sure if who knows Mercury, but the goal is to have that set up so that way then for those high-level loan officers that like certain AMCs and things like that, when an appraisal gets ordered, whether you're not using Appraisal Direct and things like that, or you're using your relationships and leveraging who you like working with, we can do appraiser panels, we can do AMCs. So that additional step of control to truly be that expert in your market, that's something you can't offer as a broker. It just isn't. So the fact that, again, we're going to continue to do these next steps, but that's how we're going to continue to make this just that choice for those high-level loan officers. Create operational efficiency for processors and LOs. So there's some things that I'm currently working on in Arrive to make sure that as we bring on additional investors, it doesn't turn into this, hey, where do I go find this information? Where do I go and find what I have to do next? Or like, for instance, when I had first gotten here we use a fulfillment company called Synergy to do our QC and funding authorization on loans, where current day processor LO has to reach out to Synergy, request the invoice so we can charge it on line B. That's all done manually current day, or not current day, that's how it was done in the past. Current day now, it's going to be done automatically out of Arrive. I literally have it set up where as soon as we mark the loan clear to close, we're requesting that invoice, they're going to upload it right to the portal for you. So things like that where you just don't have to go and find things. You don't have to think about what to do next. The fact that Arrive is going to hopefully just have up and serve everything for you. For instance, in mortgagee clauses, right? Where we are with C2 funding, there are certain investors that we're going to require the mortgagee to be in C2's name. I don't want you to have to think about who requires it and who doesn't. Just order it out of Arrive. Be as simple as possible. So again, how do we continue to do this with those operational efficiencies? I don't want you to have to go dig on the C2 portal site to go find what lender is supposed to do what for what loan and go from there. So, and give freedom to the loan officers. One thing that has been a pain point is the fact of limited selection when it comes to the investors or who we can broker loans to still and so that's one of the absolute main focuses where, again, we have the loan store being worked on as well as new res to bring onto the channel from an investor option standpoint. But then also opening up, we're on an FHA. We only have, it's like 10 or so investors, correct me if I'm wrong, David, for where we can send an FHA loan. That's opening up. You can now use an FHA loan to broker anywhere. So, for instance, like Click and Close, who's here today, they have a great DPA program. Yesterday, you couldn't go use Click and Close. Today, you can. Go leverage those different FHA products that are out there and use that. So again, these are the type of focuses that we hear this feedback, we hear these pain points, And it just takes time, unfortunately, for us to vet through, make sure we're doing things the right way, because we're also never going to, as a channel, make a sacrifice that'll possibly impact the other 1,100 people within the company. We're always going to do things a little bit conservative. That's so that way we are here not only for today, tomorrow, next year, but the next couple of decades, right? So keep that in mind as we go and work with us on that. The feedback we take to heart, and it's going to be the focus. So that's where we're at here for the next year. That's kind of our tone for the next year. I want to get into then the couple of things that we've built out into Arrive. I'm not sure anyone in here consider themselves like an Arrive expert? No? So we've talked a bit of things we've talked quite a bit about, there's been AI and automation and things like that have been talked about today. Luckily in Arrive, there's some things that we can build out manually to trigger automation, to trigger things to be done automatically, which is a great thing. It's going to be done manually, but that's okay. So just to give you an example, what we're going to be using from the processes and things to put in front of you, we're going to leverage the Arrive tasks a lot within Arrive. And the point of using those Arrive tasks is so that way I can put up in front of the loan officer, the processor, of what steps need to be done. Hey, if you're going to move this loan to clear to close, what are the things that you need to do and double check, right? It's the QC process right in front of you the whole time. And so then what we've done is make sure you have the visibility there, but when the task is created, it's going to get assigned to your processor. If the processor is not on the loan, it goes directly to the loan officer. But then it's going to list out the things that you need to do and the things and the data that we want to have in Arrive. And there's going to be so many more efficiencies where we leverage Arrive more once we get it more dialed in. For instance, I literally heard today about call reports and the fact that I'm getting an email once a quarter to dive into the call reports and things like that, where if we leverage Arrive correctly, the report can get generated out of Arrive. Just drop, click, export, pretty much done. So with this and within C2 funding, because with C2 funding, you are going to be, I don't want to say forced, but you're going to be required to use Arrive to be a part of that channel. Versus currently on the C2 financial side, I know there's the optionality and choice with that. We will be using C2 funding, Arrive for C2 funding. So just as a transparency piece. That's why the focus is on Arrive with this. But with the tasks, again, you're going to have everything in there from a visibility standpoint. See exactly what needs to be done. It's literally a check. It's your checklist. Just what needs to be done, where it needs to go. All the way, so much so as ordering an appraisal. Again, the goal of a channel is to be so overly simplified where you don't have to go anywhere else to get something done. Where again, as soon as I have an intent to proceed, signed in Arrive, you've marked that it's signed, it's there and it's uploaded, you're going to have your task on how to order the appraisal, and you're going to literally order it by putting a note in Arrive. That's it. Because I have it set up where currently the fulfillment company we're using, they're automatically added to the loan. They're then going to see when the note populates because you're tagging them. It's literally right there. Everything that's in, it's just going to get ordered for you. And then your updates and your visibility is all going to be within Arrive, and then you'll get also additional updates because, as you can see here, email for you on automated status steps are going to from Mercury. So again, as we continue to make these steps and these processes and these updates, the communication is going to be there, the ease is going to be there, the simplicity is going to be there. Leverage Arrive and leverage the tools that are going to be there for you. And again, we will truly make this just a landing spot of where your high-level loan officers are going to want to be. Same thing with some automated email. I talked about HOI and title, but again, if you're just ordering out of Arrive, I can program in what the mortgagee goes. There's no guessing. There's no guesswork. Just keep it as simple as possible. That's the main thing. Fees. So some folks that are already a part of C2 funding, there's been some questions of what should I be disclosing, what needs to be in B, what needs to be in A, right? How does, on a picture perfect deal, if you're disclosing everything up front, how does it look? So the goal with this is, again, we can program Arrive where if we have, for instance, a unique lender where we know that we need to charge a different fee to cover their underwriting fee on the back end, we can program it in. Same thing with Synergy, right? Same thing where in line B then, we can make sure it auto-populates within Arrive. Again, if you are leveraging the companies in Arrive, which is who we're targeting and going to be using first, and you're leveraging the information that Arrive puts right in the portal for you, right within the LOS for you, your mistakes are going to be very minimal. Where if you're just literally copying your data into where you're disclosing those loans, the goal is for it to be as simple as possible. We want there to be as little back and forth as possible, as little mistakes as possible. That's typically where you'll hear a downside within anytime someone goes non-delegated, it's the fact that, oh, I didn't disclose something, or I misdisclosed something. I ended up losing $1,000 on a loan because I didn't know something needed to be there. Don't want the guesswork. Again, this is to allow you to be able to run and go as quick as we possibly can. Talking again about future iterations, how we can use Arrive, where if we're going to be leveraging Arrive the right way, you can literally mark in Arrive whether a fee's a reimbursement or not. Andrea's going to probably hate me for this right now, but one day, again, we will get to a point where if you want to be reimbursed for an appraisal or reimbursed for a credit report fee, you're going to mark it in Arrive, and that's it. And I'll be able to trigger within Arrive, or we'll be able to trigger in Arrive to say, hey, this loan is ready for a payroll review. Our documents are there in Arrive, the full stacking order, everything's there. She's going to be able to see what needs to be reimbursed, and it's all going to be right there. Simple, easy, right? Isn't that a great vision? Don't we love that? Maybe, somewhat? I think it's a great idea. All right, there we go. I'll take it. So, simpler the better. Just to give you an idea, too, as far as how some of this works, I mentioned even the synergy fee. This is kind of a background of how it works, where, let's just say, again, I have a loan getting moved to clear to close. It's in our non-del channel, what branch it's in. I can then create these emails to go out within Arrive, so that way if we want certain things to be triggered at certain times, or, again, this is how we retrieve the invoice for Synergy. It's just done and the email's going. I've worked with Synergy to say what emails, what information do you want, how's it go? Boom, it just automatically gets sent out. You don't have to think about it anymore. Off it goes. Another piece of control, and this is going to be something new for I imagine a lot of you, except for those people that probably have some experience with correspondent, but yesterday we had a process where as soon as a loan went clear to close, your processor or the lender you were working with reached out to balance that CD. And then there was a wire balancing process that typically happened as well, where we were tapping in Synergy to go, hey, I want you to go ahead and go gather all these documents from all these random portals, figure out who the closing agent is, because a lot of times it wasn't in Arrive, and I want you to go balance with title within the next 30 minutes. Go ahead and go do that. As you can imagine, that probably didn't work too well sometimes. So some of the changes with the update that we're making is we're putting this control in the processor's hands or in your hands as the LO, where as long as you fill out the review fees screen correctly, wild concept, then your net wire amount that you have to go balance with title for funding, it's done. That's it. So not only are you going to be able to balance the CD with title, generate those documents, but then you're also going to go, oh, hey, by the way, thank you for balancing a CD. Do you also balance with this wire amount? You do? Awesome, great. You then mark the loan to docs out. Synergy is brought in. They're just coming in and ordering the wire. They're reaching out for their QC process to do funding authorization. That's it. But it's that idea of a simple handoff where that comes out. Where, again, the more efficiency and control, where, again, I said this from the beginning, and I keep saying it, it's your high-level loan officers, the people that want the control to truly have that experience where you're not having to tag someone in, bring someone else in, someone else to then not have the same line of communication. It's your relationship. It's your experience. These are your realtors, the title companies you work with, your borrower. Like, this is you. This is how we give the control back to you guys, and then to be able to continue to move forward. So, again, some of the changes that we're making. And again, it is a step-by-step process. I have right now all of these within Arrive where once you get a loan to a certain status, it's going to tell you everything that you need to do. How to make sure that your wire gets ordered timely, efficiently, correctly, what steps are needed to do, and then on top of that, the stoppers are built within Arrive. If you try and move a loan from disclosed to clear to close, it's not going to let you, because there are steps you have to do along the way to make sure you do that. Like, for instance, filling out the CD information, right? Things like that. So this is how we're going to take the channel here to the next step. It's how we're going to, again, grab those high-level folks and truly have this be that landing platform for this. So with this, we're going to be able to, with these changes and these updates, again, bring on more investors. Our goal right now by the end of this year is to have 10 to 12 investors on the platform from a non-delegated standpoint, to where, again, today we have 3. We have 2 more in process currently. I've got a hot list of others to bring on, all the way from non-QM lenders to your additional A-paper lenders, things like that, where the goal is, again, we have a mighty strong force of these investors to work with, where you can get your business done, but then you still have the ability, because we have a clear-cut process, to still be able to broker loans that maybe our investors don't have. Because that is the other benefit to this channel, is if a product isn't offered by the investors we currently have, you are allowed to go broker that loan somewhere else, right? Like if we need to go broker a loan to fund loans because UWM can't do it because they don't offer the product, whatever the case may be, you can do that current day. And you will always be able to do that if we don't offer the product as a lender. So keep that in mind. So pricing is, we can go, that is a whole conversation. From a compliance standpoint, brokering a loan because of price is very frowned upon. How about that? So with that, again, if you're coming over to C2 funding, you are coming over to this channel to be doing the majority of your loans on the non-delegated side, correct? So again, what it's going to allow us to do, if it's kind of sprinkled through then, but it's going to allow us to add more investors. Again, 10 to 12 by the end of the year, 2 more already in process that we already have the focus going. It's going to create a streamlined process, visibility, expectations for everyone involved. We're going to be able to take this further down the line from compliance to payroll, things like that. Allow our LOs and processors to move faster with more control. When you guys are balancing a loan, balancing a CD, I want you guys right then and there to also be able to balance your wire. It's the next email of progression. Just do it and be done. Fewer mistakes and confusion. Again, it is the Achilles heel of non-delegated when you are just chucked into the channel and you don't have the guardrails to operate within, where you're going to have a loan you're going to end up losing money on. You'll literally do a loan that you're going to have to pay for. It will happen if you don't have the guardrails in process, and that's the last thing any one of us wants to see happen and wants for anyone to be in that position. So, again, to allow us to grow. We haven't even touched on the fact of that we can have, a team and we can do overrides, and the fact that we do monitor, I don't want to call it a P&L, but it's an internal P&L so that way you have the ability to do pricing concessions when you want to and when you need to. It's that control, and when you can move faster and focus on the right things instead of conversations about how to flip to borrower paid, or the fact that, if I pass along this extension fee to my borrower, it's going to turn into an hour-long conversation that then's going to go to the realtor, and I might lose this relationship. Stop the spirals. That's it. Focus on your next loan. Focus on your next deal. Be a high-level LO and move forward. Thank you, everyone, for hearing me talk here for a little bit. I do have a Q&A, so we got our, I believe, 5 minutes left, 2 to 5 minutes-ish left.